Hello everyone, I'm Abasud and welcome to my course on cloud compliance. So I have taken the content of this course from CSA and NIST, and our today's topic is compliance and audit. So let's look into it. So nowadays organization faces new challenge as they migrate from traditional data center to the cloud, delivering, measuring, and communicating compliance with magnitude of regulation across multiple justifications are among the largest of these challenges. Customers and providers alike need to understand and appreciate the judicial differences and their implications on existing compliance and audit standards, procedure, and practices. The distributed and virtualized nature of cloud requires significant adjustment from approaches based on definite and physical instant of information and processes. Cloud customer auditors and providers must consider and understand the following points. The first is regulatory implications for using a particular cloud service or provider, giving particular attention to any cross border or multi judicial issues, variable assignment of compliance responsibilities between the provider and customer, including indirect providers. This includes the concept this includes the concept of compliance inheritance, where a provider may have a part of their services certified as a compliant, which removes this from the audit scope of the customer. But customer is still responsible for the compliance of everything they build on top of the provider. Provider capabilities for demonstrating compliance, including document generation, evidence production, and process compliance in a timely manner. There are some additional cloud specific issue to pay particular attention to include the role of provider audits and certifications and how those affect customers audit scope. Understanding which features and services of cloud provider are within scope of which audits and assessments. Managing compliance and audits over time, working with regulators and auditors who may lack experience into cloud computing technology, working with providers who may lack audit and or regulatory compliance experience. Achieving and maintaining compliance with a plethora of modern regulations and standards is a core activity of most of the information security teams and critical tools of governance and risk management. So here what we are referring the governance and risk management tools of our cloud. Like for example, we have a red lock, we have a dom 9, so where we basically configure the policies on a time to time basis. It will check check the cloud and then give us the output, so we can rely on that. They are these are the additional tools, and apart from that each and every cloud has a compliance feature inside itself, which can be configured as per the requirement. Compliance validates awareness of and adherence to corporate obligations. The compliance process assesses the state of that awareness and adherence, further assessing the risk and potential cost of non compliance against the cost of achieving the compliance, and hence prioritize, fund, and initiate any corrective action deemed necessary. Audits are a key tool for proving compliance. We also use audit and assessment to support non-compliance risk decisions. So now let's look into in detail of compliance. Information security in cloud is increasingly subject to a plethora of policies and regulations from government, industry groups, business relationships, and other stakeholders. Compliance management is a tool of governance. It is how an organization assess, remediate, and prove it is meeting these internal and external obligations. So now let's understand how cloud changes compliance. As with security, compliance in cloud is a shared responsibility model. Both the cloud provider and customer have responsibilities, but the customer is always ultimate responsible for their own compliance. These responsibilities are defined through contracts, audit assessment, and specification of compliance requirement. Cloud customers, particularly in public cloud, must rely more on the third party attestation of the provider to understand their compliance alignment and gap. Since public cloud provider rely on economics of scale to manage costs, they often will not allow customer to perform their own audit. Instead, similar to financial audit of public companies, they engage with third party firm to perform the audit and issues attestation. Thus, the cloud customer does not typically get to define the scope or perform the audit themselves. Many cloud providers are certified for various regulation and industry requirements such as PCI DSS, which is required for credit card data, that is SOC 1 and SOC 2, HIPAA, which is required for the healthcare data, and the best practices like CSA, CCM, global and regional. So we can check, the cloud service provider is compliant with these regulations or not, or they are having CSA stars or not. On the basis of that, we can say this cloud provider is compliant. So there is a term which is called pass-through audit. So pass-through audit is a form of compliant inheritance. In this model, or some of the cloud providers infrastructure and services undergo an audit to the compliance standard. The provider takes responsibility. The provider takes responsibility and look into the complete picture of what we are saying, responsibility for the cost and maintenance of their certification. Providers audits include pass-through audit need to be understood within their limitation. They certify that the provider is compliant. It is still the responsibility of customer to build compliant application and services on the cloud. This means the provider infrastructure services are not within scope of customers audit assessment, but everything the customer build themselves is still within the scope. Customer is still ultimately responsible for maintaining the compliance of whatever they built. For example, if we are using infrastructure as a service, and for that provider is PCI DSS certified, the customer can build their own PCI compliant services on the platform, and the provider infrastructure and operation should be outside the customer's assessment scope. The next is audit. Then now we have understand about the compliance part. So what we can look into if we are especially having the public cloud. So we may need to uh, rely on the attestation from the third party corresponding to the cloud, like are they RPCI compliant or not, are they are HIPAA compliant or not, to look into their SOC 1 and SOC 2 reports, because in public client it's built on a cost effective model, so it may possible you'll not able to perform your own audit on the cloud. The next is the audit management. Audit and assessments are mechanism to document compliance with internal and external requirement. Reporting needs to be needs to include a compliance determination as well as a list of identified issues, risks, and remediation recommended. Audits must be independently conducted and should be robustly designed to reflect best practices, appropriate resources, and tested protocols and standards. Before diving into the cloud implications, we need to look into different things which will help us to make us cloud compliant, which an audit will help for that. Now look into it how cloud changes audit. Some cloud customer may be used to auditing third party providers, but the nature of cloud computing and contracts with cloud providers will often preclude things like on premise audit. Customers should understand that Providers can consider on-premise audit a security risk when providing multi-tenant services. Multiple on-premise audit from large number of customers present clear logistic and security challenge, especially when the provider rely on shared asset to create resource pools. Customer working with these providers will have to rely more on third party attestation rather than the audits they perform themselves. This is often due to the legal and contractual requirement with the audit firm, not due to any attempt and obfuscation by cloud providers. Cloud providers should understand that customers still need assurance that the provider meet their contractual and regulatory obligation and should thus provide rigorous third party attestation to prove they meet their obligations. Publishing certificates and attestation will greatly assist cloud customer in evaluating providers. And generally if you see the cloud providers on their public portal as well, they maintain which all certification and attestation they have. Certain type of customer technical assessments uh, and audits may be limited to providers terms of service and may require permission. This often help to provide distinction between legitimate assessment and a attack. It is important to remember that attestation and certification are point in time activity. An attestation is a statement of over a period of time assessment and may not be valid at any future point. Like if I talk about the PCI, in PCI audit used to happen once a year and assessment needs to be done on a quarterly basis and needs to be shared with the auditors like this assessment has been done internally. So it's a point in time data. On the basis of that they are performing it. If they are saying they did this particular audit for 2000, let's suppose from January 2020 to December 2020, so it is valid on that particular duration only. For next year they need to again do it and complete their reviews and their attestation. So this is what we're having for today's session in compliance and audit. Thank you for joining.